Hi, I'm Jen Farley, and I believe that there is a rock star within all of us. So I am going on the road and talking to people who I think are rock stars in what they do. And I'm in Madison, Wisconsin today at Paradyme Productions with the owner, Jake Johnson. Woo!
Hello, hello.
Jake is truly a rock star and helps promote and create rock stars because he is an audio engineer and producer, right?
That's correct. That's exactly what I am.
So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for inviting me to your studio. And this is a lot of stuff back here and a lot of buttons and levers and
yeah, I'm used to facing the other direction. So I'm used to like people seeing the back of my head.
Oh, that's that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Every picture of me online is like me hunched over.
Hunched over or the back of your head. Yes. Yeah, I always got to make sure that you're, no balding.
I guess I didn't even check that.
So, Jake, how did you start with your love of music and recording and audio production? Where did that start?
I can't pinpoint a moment, but my parents were artists. Okay. My mother was a visual artist. She did sculpting and painting, a lot of work with oils. She was also a guitar player and singer. I was just talking to a friend the other day. When we were kids, when we would go in the car, we would rarely listen to the radio. We would be singing. We'd be singing and we'd be harmonizing. My mom would hit a harmony. My brother would hit a harmony. And I'd be like, oh, I want to do that one. You do the high and I'll do the low. And so like we would do that. We were just that family, that would do that. And then, we always had piano. We always had, tape recorders, stuff like that. So I would just goof around, singing. I'd write songs, just nonsensical stuff, as a kid. And then my brother learned to play guitar and he was in a band. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. So then me and a bunch of buddies formed a band in middle school. And my neighbor gave me a reel-to-reel tape deck that didn't quite work, but I kind of noodled it around to get it to work. So I just loved tech. I loved electronics. Always loved music. Never thought of it as a career. Always thought of it as this is really fun to do.
Right.
And so then being in bands and then going into the studio the first time, I still remember coming to Madison to the studio and just like, that was really fun. We got to do that again. And so then I definitely had the love for the studio. Long story short, we had hired a engineer producer to work with myself and a friend in college. We kind of had a little pop duo thing going on. I'd say, I hate to use the term boy band, but it was a two-guy boy band is essentially what it was. So that was cool back in the 90s.
It was very cool in the 90s.
And so, we went in the studio and the guy, our engineer basically said, you guys have better ear than I do. You're better with pitch. I can't give you advice. Like we'd sing something and we're like, how was that? And he goes, I don't know, try it again. And I'm like looking for advice. And then me and my buddy we didn't know it. We were producers. We were both telling each other how to do things. Try it this way. Oh, try singing this. Now hold that note a little longer, And he says, you guys are both better than me at this. Would you come in and work with some of the bands that are coming into the studio? So it was totally just like a college fun job of like, I would go in nights and weekends and just work in the studio. And just like, honestly, the first band, my first professional gig was with Marcus Bovary and the Evil Twins, which I didn't know at the time was like a big regional Midwest band, Okay. And they're like, wow, this guy did great with vocals. And it's like in a town as small as Madison, it's, even though some people think that, it's a city, it's a small town.
Yeah.
And bands all talk to each other. And next thing you know, I just had tons of bands that wanted to work with me. And I was working with their vocalists in the studio. And then it was a job. Then I was like suddenly turning down working with bands because I'm a college student. I have other stuff to do. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, I love this. Why don't I pursue this? So then there was a point in college where I'm like, I'm going to switch from this genetics major, which I loved, to a business major so I can kind of pursue this music thing that is like seems to be going really well for me.
So you didn't even study audio engineering? You studied business?
I studied hard sciences and genetics, molecular biology, physics, and then I switched over and my degree is in marketing. I have a business degree.
That's crazy. Yeah. And everything else has just been self-taught.
Mostly self-taught. I mean, kind of I wouldn't say internship, but kind of on the job apprenticeship more than internship. And then, I've been tinkering around since I was a kid. I fixed a reel-to-reel and, working with that and working with cassette decks and how do you splice tape? I want to do it. So I was actually like splicing tape before I knew how to splice tape. I'd cut it and see what we could do. And then once we were in the studio and I got basically the offer of a job in a studio, then it was kind of like trial by fire. You just do it,
Well, and it sounds like you just kind of been led by your curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really interesting. Especially like being into genetics and then like engineering and like figuring this out and figuring that out. Yeah. And you're also musically inclined. So yeah, it all makes sense.
Yeah, and it's, I don't regret any of that. I mean, like, seriously, the stuff I learned in science and the stuff I learned about electronics, I use that all the time. Yeah. The stuff I learned in math and calculus, like, I actually use a little bit of that, And then, I can apply some of that knowledge to music theory and to, sequencing things and arrangement and stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. So when did you create Paradyme Productions?
1996.
What?
25 years ago. 1996, Paradyme Productions was born. Me and my buddy Mike, who we were in that pop duo together. We formed Paradyme Productions because we wanted it to sound like a label.
Yeah.
When we were doing our thing, this is our label. But then we were also producing other bands, so it was legitimately a production company, not just our own thing. And then it just kind of like, I just stuck with it. And so here's the silly thing. So Paradyme, Paradyme. So everyone's like, that's not how it's spelled. And we're like, yeah, but Paradyme. So the meaning of Paradyme, like, it's kind of like a mental construct. Like when you think of a guitar, what is the shape of a guitar? And you think of a Les Paul or a Fender, because that's what it is. That's the paradigm in your mind of what a guitar looks like. And so we were like, oh, we're the paradigm of a band, but then there's the why me in there. So why do I have to fit into this paradigm? Silly, cheesy.
No.
I know.
Oh my God, it's deep. Why me?
Why me? And then I just stuck with it because that was like the brand. So, yeah. So that was the depth of it. It was like a couple like 21-year-old guys talking to each other. Maybe after a beer. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe
or
two. That was the thing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you've been in Madison. And so you really are, speaking as a musician in Madison, the go-to guy.
Well, there's a lot of places to go.
There are.
We have been very fortunate to be very busy for many years.
Yes.
So I am very happy to be a part of that scene and to help so many artists do their thing, and that people are willing to work with me. It still dumbfounds me after you think about say you got, for me, a bad day of work is like, a lot of work, or software didn't work right, or something you kind of bummed out, you're disappointed, or maybe just the song you were working on didn't go where you wanted it to go, and then it's like and then at the end of the day I'm like, I still got like artists who want to work with me, and there's people I can't even like call back because there's extra voicemails coming in while I'm working with people, and so I'm like, you never forget like that position to be in. Like that's what I wanted when I back in 1992, and I'm thinking, I want to be a producer. That's what I wanted, was to have people want to work with me. How cool is that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So how do you connect to that rock star feeling? Obviously people are coming to you because you can make them sound really good.
Yeah. So that rock star feeling, I tend to think about that. So the way I always gauge my success is where someone comes in, they're at this level. They have songs written, good songs, decent arrangements. How can I bring them up here? What skills can I bring to the game? Bring it up here. So they leave and they go, wow, that's their value, And for some people, some people come in and they're beginners, and I need to meet them where they are. You know what I mean? I can't just go, you're not great at your guitar or anything like that. I need to meet them where they are and figure out, okay, what are the steps to get them up to that next level? And can we push it? How can we keep pushing that? Yeah. Not like I'm going to be satisfied here. Like, let's just keep pushing it. And then on the other side of it, you get some phenom coming in. I could think of quite a handful of examples in my career where some people come in and they're so good.
Yeah.
And you're like, what can I bring to this game to add value to this? Like almost that feeling of inadequacy. You know what I mean? Where they come in and they're like, they're so good. What advice can I give them? But then you find it once I get over those little feelings of like inadequacy and just go, no, like I'm good at what I do. What can I do to bring them up to this level? And a lot of times it's sharing my opinion of something. You're really kind of yelling on this line, or is as much as I like that cool little scale you're playing to me, these two notes feel wrong to me, and it sounds like you're making a mistake. So how can I, you can theory the heck out of it and say, this was this cool little scale I played, but like, still sounds wrong to me. And if it sounds wrong to me, my gut tells me there's other people that are going to say that.
It's really interesting because though you are working past your inner critic, your own gremlins, to be able to get to the point to be honest.
Oh yeah.
With your artist.
Yeah.
So
honest. That is the key. Always be honest. Like, I'm not here to tell someone they're great when they're not. I'm also not here to just absolutely tear someone to shreds. So like, when you're working on art, we're working on, a project together. It's your art. It's your baby. So I need to gently go around that, but I got to find ways to bring that honesty in there. Like, you know what, this is great, but that one lyric, this is what it makes me think of. And so I'm pointing that out, not to put a dig in there, but to make it better,
Yeah.
Or, even though I know you love this big, this big rock ending, it feels really out of place to me. And so like to be able to tell that to someone,
yeah,
and to just be honest, and then also to be open to feedback. So like, my favorite session is when people are open to feedback from me and when I'm open to feedback from them, because then suddenly it's not about ego. It's not about me. It's not about them. It's about the song. It's about what can we do to make the song better.
Yeah.
And once we get to that point, it's like the golden zone where then things start to, exponentially grow.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So it's about getting there.
Yeah. So what are some challenges that you have being an owner of a recording studio and a producer? And what are some of the challenges that you face?
That's a good question because I usually don't think about things in terms of that, but there's always challenges. I mean, if I want to have a good, reliable staff, I need to have work for them.
Yeah.
And I need to pay them well. And so like that's a challenge, is keeping them busy. Like that's a big challenge for me. The other challenge for me is allocating my time, because it's so easy to give up all your time and you have nothing left. Like when there's no gas in the tank, and I did that. I burned the candle at both ends. You are well aware of this. we're both that type of people who will like, you take it and you're like, yeah, give me. And then suddenly you're like, I just worked an 80-hour week and I got nothing left. And at that point, like, I'm no good, and I know that. I know that now. Back then I didn't know that. And I will tell people that they're like, I had a guy call me just a couple weeks ago. Hey, I want to come in. We got this thing. We come in at 10 p.m. and we work through the night.
Oh.
And we'll be done at 6 a.m. And I said, I'm not your guy, because I know better. I know I'm not good because I get up by 5 or 6 every morning.
Yeah.
So I'm not good to do that session. I'm not on that schedule. I was when I was in my 20s, not anymore.
But I love the fact that you, again, honest enough to say, I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's not me.
I'm not your guy because I know, I shouldn't say I know. I'm learning my strengths and my weaknesses every day. And it's like when you know that, like, you're not going to want to work with me at that time frame because I'll probably be grumpy, I'll probably be a little inattentive because like, I work long days, I'm in here at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
You don't want me at 6 a.m. after 22 hours. No.
You're really not on a musician schedule. You're on a Jake Johnson schedule.
I did that for years. I did nights and weekends for a long time. And I still will do 2 nights a week. And during the summer, 1 weekend a month. Rest of the year, usually 2 weekends a month. And I know my limits because I get a lot of value out of family time. I get a lot of value out of watching my kids swim.
Yeah.
I get a lot of value out of cooking. I love cooking. You should see my garden at home. I got freaking tomatoes growing out of everything. I love that stuff. Like, I love those things. And I love my job, but it's all about that balance. And in the last 10 years, I feel like I've learned to embrace that balance because I'm a better me when I'm here, not all the time.
Yeah. Well, and you have a family.
Yeah. I love my family.
Exactly. Yeah. Tell me about your family.
So, my wife, Jody, we've been together for 20 years. Been married for 20 years. We've been together longer than that.
So she's been around for the whole thing.
She has. And, she's really embraced the entrepreneurial life. And then, we have 2 wonderful boys, 12 and 15. Levi and Cole, and they're both like competitive swimmers. So like every weekend we're at swim meets and we're doing all that, and they're just amazing kids, and it's really fun to see them growing up. And just a little aside about the pandemic, I think part of the pandemic that I absolutely loved was I get to see my teenage kids.
Yeah.
That I think if I was in that situation and it was non-pandemic, I would have been out skateboarding with my friends. I would have been out playing music with my friends. I wouldn't have been hanging out at home.
Right.
And so like the last year of being able to hang out with my kids is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, are they also singing in the car with you and adding harmonies and doing all the things that you did with your brother and your mom?
You know, to some extent, except nowadays there's these things.
Oh, yeah. Scrolly scroll.
And so like anytime we can get away from that is really cool. We do some of that. We'll play with each other, and we'll sing with each other, and I've got instruments at home, and just the other day Levi and I were playing ukulele and singing some little things, and we do some of that. I don't ever force it on them, and they're both singers. They both sing all the time, but I don't think they think of themselves as singers. Yeah. I try to be that teacher a lot because you find yourself, especially with younger artists, find yourself saying the same things over and over. And at one point, I kind of would get frustrated, like they should know this. And it's like, no, they shouldn't. They're focused on their music. I should help them. Help them because the more that I can help them succeed, whatever that be, not just musically, but help them succeed in their career, the more that's going to help them, the more they will be likely to come back, the more they'll send their friends to me. It's just helping my clients succeed, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an element of going above and beyond that it sounds like you're doing too. By being a teacher, by being someone that is giving advice and,
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I guess I don't think of it as going above and beyond. I think of it as what would I want to hear? What would I want to hear from a guy who's older than me, who's been through a little more, who maybe has a wider range of perspectives. And I also appreciate that from, and I don't pretend to be the guy who knows everything or anything like that.
Right.
But I have worked with thousands of bands, and I can help you. I do know a few things. So, that's a good. I appreciate being there. I also, like we said about the honest thing, like some people will say, hey, what do you think about this idea for a video? I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I'll be like, you know what? I don't have an opinion on that because I can't go there. I just don't. Unless I'm really deep and we're in it and we're talking about this, I don't really have an opinion. Like, talk to someone who's going to do that video for you, and you communicate that to them.
Yeah.
So I also kind of, and I've been getting better at that too, kind of stepping away when else and I know, hey, I'm not a pro at that. Like I'll have my zone. I can stretch it a little bit here and there, but if something's over here, I won't pretend to be that guy.
Yeah. So what have been some of your more memorable sessions in the studio?
Memorable for good reasons or for bad reasons?
Whatever you want to go with.
Every session is memorable for so many reasons, and I know that sounds so cheesy, but it's so true. Like I love that connecting with someone where then, you get past the, they're singing in front of me and I'm critiquing them, and you get past that where then you're working together.
Right.
And you usually take 20 minutes, 30 minutes into a session. Memorable moments. I mean, I love it when someone is maybe shooting for something that's a little difficult for them, and they're trying, and hey, why don't you try it this way? Why don't you try it this way? And then they hit it, or whatever it is, they hit it and they get it, and I'll be right there celebrating with them. I'll be like, yeah, just jump up and down. It's like, those are the celebrations that we need to absolutely have. And then it's amazing what that does to the confidence of a performer. So we're all, all musicians, we're all human.
Yeah.
So the chemistry in our brain and what's happening up there affects how you play, affects how you sing. When you're a singer, I actually want to write a book about this someday. When you're a singer, singing is so personal. You're the instrument. It's you. So like I can tell that guitarist your guitar's out of tune. Okay. But when you sing it and I have to tell you you're out of tune, there's a difference there. There's a personal difference that then it can emotionally affect someone. So learning how to navigate that and help that person with that is, I seriously, I want to write a book about the psychology of singing in the studio someday. But I think I got so many stories about that,
Yeah.
But, and even just like, so here's a very memorable thing. And this has happened 50, 60 times in my career. Working with someone, they're getting frustrated. Mm-hmm. You can just feel the frustration. You just know they're trying. They know they can, hit that note. They know they can hit this right. And they're just not doing it, And we try. I'm very patient. I'll let you try 100 times. I don't care. Well, let's try again. And I'll pause, maybe give some practical input. Try it this way, try it that way. Take a breath. Let's try it again. Try to get them focused. But then sometimes, and I've gotten really good at this little technique. I'll stop and there'll be a little aside and I'll tell some stupid story or like, when you said that, it reminded me of this and suddenly you just get their mind out of themselves for just a second where they're not beating themselves up. Just 10 seconds, 15 seconds, you have this story. And then I'm like, let's just try it again. And I swear to you, 50% of the time, once you get them outside themselves, that next take is the one that works.
Yeah.
And there is something about that psychology of just like, okay, I know what you need. It isn't about singing. It's all up here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I gotta help them get there.
Yeah.
And they can't do it because they're so, they're so in that little circle and they're so laser focused on it. Get them outside that circle a little bit. Like, you know how to sing this. You can do this. Yeah. It isn't a matter of that. It's the more that, that sort of paralysis through analysis. The more you think about it, the harder it gets.
Yes.
The more you beat yourself up, the harder it gets. Because we're all humans. We're all vulnerable. We all make mistakes, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So true. I was at Girls Rock Camp Madison today, and one of the things that Beth Killey, the musical director, said was when someone's like, think of a pink elephant, or don't think of a pink elephant right now. Yeah. Don't think of a pink elephant. What's the first thing you're going to think of? Yeah. A pink elephant. So like if you're thinking of these negative thoughts all the time, it's harder to get out of that than it is to have like swimming to the positive. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really
it's dwelling. Really, I mean, we all dwell because we all want to get better. And especially if you know you can do it.
Yeah.
I know I can do this,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun stepping outside. So another side of that I have actually, this is another technique I use all the time. I screw up too. Like when we're working on stuff, I'll be like, someone wants to do a harmony. Okay, let me set up a track. I'll put a new track in, label it. I'll hit record, and I didn't change my input. So it's recording like a stereo thing from my keyboard or something like that. Not their vocals. And I'll stop it. I'm like, I screwed up. Hold on. I'm like, let me fix it. It's usually 5 seconds, the lost time. It's not like a significant thing. But I think by me being vulnerable enough to just say, I messed up, suddenly I'm an equal with them. Instead of me being the one critiquing them, suddenly like, hey, I'm a human, I screw up too.
Yeah.
And it's like, I tell all the, when I'm training a new intern or new employee, like that's a big thing. And I find people appreciate it because then it's like, you're honest. They know, like, you're not trying to pull one over on them. Like, we all screw up, and so it suddenly takes the tension in a room and just, brings it down a little bit. So
I love that. I love that you're honest about your vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we all screw up.
I know, but some people think it's, like, not cool to say that you screw up. Or
well, when I was young, you think of that, that's a sign of weakness. But then all of a sudden you realize, no, in order to get past this, just admit it. And then what the thing that I learned is, like, people respect you more. Not because you screwed up, but because of how you dealt with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like everyone screws up. It's how you deal with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a big screw up. Sometimes this is going back to your story about memorable things. When I opened up the studio on West Wash, first session in there, great band, came in. We were recording. I had a new setup, new computer rig. Recorded the first song. It was great. Went to the second song. Recorded that. And I went and I cleared my pools, which is basically getting rid of all the files that aren't in my project. Mm-hmm. And I had set both songs to the same folder, and I deleted their first song. The first song recorded at the new studio in 2001, I deleted. And I'm like, I'm going to scramble. I scrambled. I was just totally honest with them right away. I hold on. I think I might have really screwed something up. And I scrambled. in the end of it, I'm like, okay, we're going to keep going, guys. We're going to keep going. I'm not going to let this wreck our day. I'm going to see if I can find this. End of the day, I spent like 4 hours trying to recover these files. They're gone. I deleted them. I call the band and I'm like, man, I cannot tell you how sorry I am. I deleted your song. And this was 20 years ago. So this wasn't recently. This is a long time ago. But they said, do you know what? We didn't really do that song very well anyway. And I said, I'm going to give you a day in the studio. You come in. We're going to do as long as you want. We're going to re-record that song. They came in 4 hours. They did it, and they said, that was so much better. We did it so much better having gone through that experience.
Yeah.
Like, we're not mad at all. Like, you made it up to us. As a matter of fact, you went over and above. You spent extra time, and we're happy with it now. And it was like one of those things where I was like, that was actually really cool. It broke my heart when all of a sudden I realized what I did.
Right.
But it's like, it's how you deal with it. You know, everyone screws up. How do I deal with this in the best way possible?
Yeah.
Don't hide it. Don't sweep it under a rug. Shine a big old light on it. My fault. They were cool with it.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not how you fall, it's how you get back up.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Nice. So I always ask this for all of my guests. Do you have a Rockstar theme song that really resonates with you?
A Rockstar theme song.
You can define that in any way that you want.
Every song is a Rockstar theme song in some way. The first song off of Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. Love in Need of Love Today. That's the song.
Love and Need of Love Today.
So that's the song that's not like a motivator for me here. That's my like let loose song. So like when I'm home chopping vegetables and I'm cooking a meal, put on that album, that first song. My neighbors have heard that song hundreds of times because I have my windows open and I sing along loud.
Oh yeah.
So that's my thing. And it isn't just that I absolutely love Stevie Wonder. It's that song is about hope. That song is about how love wins. And that's my personal philosophy, or at least where I want to be, where I want my personal philosophy to be. Like, if I could just be here, if I could be centered right around this and think about that, people needing love and us all needing love, that's where I live.
That's where you live.
Yeah. That's where I want to live.
Yes.
I'm not always there.
You got to aspire.
Yeah, that's where I want to come back to. Yeah.
Bring it back to love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about your shelf of heroes there too.
Oh, my shelf of heroes. My shelf of heroes. I have. So this started with Lil Vince Lombardi. So Lil Vince Lombardi is my. This was given to me by my father-in-law because I'm a big Packers fan. And,
Hi, Lil Vince.
And Lil Vince has. So Vince Lombardi represents a lot of things for me. It's kind of the underdog, like just tough work, but also like so he was Packers coach during the early championships. And bringing together a team, finding out where things go, and motivating people. So that was always my big thing. And I don't want to make it bigger than it is. I just love Vince Lombardi.
Right.
So I took him everywhere, and I would like share like these stories of Lil Vince, going to Minnesota, and Lil Vince going to Texas, and a bunch of people in Texas when we went to a Packer game were all like, oh, let's rub Vince for good luck. So like Vince comes with me everywhere. So then Vince was in here, and it was like it was a great conversation piece. And so then after the inauguration of Joe Biden and all the Bernie memes of Bernie just sitting there.
Yep.
Bernie, I'm a huge Berner. So Bernie is a personal hero of mine. And I had a friend online who then had a 3D printed Bernie. And I said, I absolutely need one. Cost is no issue. Just give me a 3D printed Bernie. So I got a 3D printed Bernie. So then suddenly I'm like, well, now I've got like two old white guys with glasses. And
no resemblance.
and so,
I'm not saying you're old. I'm just
no.
White guy with glasses, right?
Like, so then I'm like, well, who are some of my other heroes who can be up here? So then it turned into, then I ordered, an RBG, who's, a huge hero of mine for every reason. And a Greta, I couldn't find a Greta Thunberg action figure, which this is like, if anyone wants to make $1 million, make a Greta Thunberg action figure out of recycled plastic or something. And like people will buy those.
Yeah.
You can't find them online. And then I got Henry Aaron. So Hank Aaron, for obvious reasons, I have a cute little Hank Aaron story for you. So Hank Aaron was a 18-year-old boy drafted by the Eau Claire Bears, which is a minor league team in Eau Claire.
Okay.
A lot of my family's from Eau Claire. Both my parents were from Eau Claire, and so I have a lot of uncles and aunts and cousins up there. Eau Claire is a very white city. Very white city. Nowadays, there was a lot of Hmong migration and a little bit of non-white diversity, but it's pretty white. So Henry Aaron, 18-year-old black man from the South, comes up to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And my grandfather, who ran what was then the largest consumer co-op in the nation, so he started this big co-op, a great man, Ray Tyson, was a fan of the team and went to the games. And he saw this young Henry Aaron, and he's like, this guy doesn't have any friends. And he had a group that would get together and play cards every weekend. That was just one thing they did. That was, no TV. They might listen to the radio, but they just play cards. So he invited Henry Aaron over to come play cards with him and his business buddies. And so my grandpa played cards with Hank Aaron as an 18-year-old kid in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And I just remember thinking, oh, this is really cool. So then fast forward to me in about 2008, 2012-ish, when it was a Doyle election, it was a Feingold election. I'm big into politics, if you didn't already pick up on that. And I organized a big rock fundraiser for my friend Russ. And so,
my friend Russ.
Well, he's my friend. I love the guy. And so we organized this big event. There was a bunch of bands. It was called Rock for Russ. And James Doyle goes up on stage, and he talks about, I've been touring the state with Henry Aaron, who's one of my childhood heroes. I had him sign my childhood notebook that had all his stickers and all these things about all his stats about Henry Aaron. He's like, could you sign this? And he said, Henry Aaron told me this great story about when he was just a kid and he came to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and he knew no one, and he felt like I am an outsider. I don't belong here. No one, And he says, and some of these people in Eau Claire would invite them to their homes and have dinner and play cards. And he's like, I knew Wisconsin was a really cool place because these people welcome me into their homes. And I'm just like, I'm like, oh, those are my people. Yeah. So Henry Aaron, besides just being the awesome guy he was, and rest in peace. Amazing baseball player, but also there's that little personal connection. So I'm like, I gotta get a Henry Aaron, and he's huge compared to the rest of my figurines. So he's the monster in there. So if you know me well enough and you ever run across a little figurine of someone who would be my hero, let me know. I have a lot of heroes.
Yeah, I love that.
And of course, Greta, for obvious reasons. Greta's she reminds me of the standing in the face of corporate America and the world politics, and basically just saying no, you're wrong.
Right.
And just and she's right. Greta's right about everything.
Well, and not only that, though, she is this representation of a generation.
Yeah.
That is saying, no, this isn't right.
Yeah, this is our world. This is going to be our world when you're gone.
Right.
So let's do something now while we can,
So thinking about that, I had mentioned Girls Rock Camp before.
Yes.
So you have the honor and esteemed privilege to do the recordings of Girls Rock Camp during the week. The girls write these songs and create a band, and at the end of the week they come to the studio and you get to record them.
Yes.
What is that like to record 8 to 18-year-old girls that have just written a song? What do you see there?
Okay, well, it's two things.
Okay.
It's absolutely crazy, and it's awesome. It's, I love kids. I've worked with kids. I was a camp counselor. I've been a coach for multiple sports teams. I absolutely love working with kids. I'm with the Optimist Club in Fitchburg. We do stuff for kids. We do stuff like that all the time. So working with kids in the studio is awesome. The energy is absolutely cool. The fact that it's 10 to 11 bands a day is absolutely nerve-wracking, because you just don't do that. You don't do that in the studio. You don't get 10 bands in the studio in a day. But we found a way. All of a sudden, you know how Beth is. Beth's like, let's just do this. And so I'm like, okay. And then she's like, let's add another band. And I'm like, okay. So, just keep pushing the envelope. Let's get more done. Let's help more kids. Let's do that. So just to see what a lot of these young girls, where they've come, and I've seen a lot of them year after year, who then they come back to the camp, and just the confidence and I've always believed, and I'm sure you're the same way, being in a band is as much teamwork as being on any sports team.
Absolutely.
Is as much teamwork as being in a play, being in a performance. You got your role to play. If you're not there, you're going to mess up everyone else. Like, let's come along. Let's all do this together. We got to rock and roll through this,
Yes.
And so that to me is really fun, seeing the kids do it. And then of course, you're teaching, you teach when you got some, I think it's 7 bands this Friday.
Yes.
7 bands coming in. I find myself saying the same thing over and over. And at first I'm like, I don't want to be that guy who harps, but these are new kids. They haven't heard me say this before.
Right.
So I'm teaching them. I'm trying to teach them how to do this. And what I absolutely love about it, besides obviously like hearing their creations, hearing what they're doing, is then at the end of it, like afterwards, and you just kind of hear the mumbling, and one of the girls like, this is so cool, we should do this again, or like they had this experience. You did such a good job. Where like I see them like patting each other on the back, and I'm like, that's worth every penny, worth every minute, of stress, because I stress for like 2 days beforehand. Because if there's one thing wrong or one cable that isn't working and it puts us 10 minutes behind, then it's kind of like that hairdresser. Then everyone gets bumped back 10 minutes, and my whole day is stress. And it shouldn't be stress, because it's a wonderful thing. But I stress about it for 2 days ahead of time so that I don't have to stress about it the day it's about preparation, just like pretty much anything in life. If you prepare for it and you do all your hustle ahead of time, then you can enjoy the moment when you're there. So, I say a lot of things multiple times a day. When we're doing takes, oh yeah, let's try that again. Okay, yeah, I think you can do better. That was good, that was better, I like this, let's try it again. Okay, let's go one more time just for pitch. There's a lot of things I'll say a lot of times. And what I find myself is I get bored hearing myself say these things. And I don't ever get like mad I have to say this again. So what I'll do, and it's a weird thing in me, I don't consciously do this, is I just start putting on accents. So I'll be like, hey, try it again, and then I think you could do better. And it's like, I don't even, and also people are like, why are you doing that voice? I'm like, I think I'm just bored of hearing my own voice. I think that's what I've come down to. But then again, like you said, it takes them outside themselves too.
Nice.
And it's like, I don't know if I'm intentionally doing that, but also when you just brought that up, I'm like, I bet you that might be part of it too. I'm bored of hearing myself, and I think they're bored of hearing me say the same thing. So let me find a new way to say it, even if it's the same words. Do
it again.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hana do sit net.
Nice.
Let's find different ways to say it.
So, 25 years or so of Paradyme Productions.
Yeah, can you believe
What is next for Paradyme? What do you see the future looking like?
So, you know what? I love what I do.
Yeah.
So, part of me doesn't want to change. Part of, everything, the world changes.
Right.
So, like, and I feel like we've been good about kind of like, hey, let's not fight this. Like, I remember seeing the older guys who, they were my age then, when I was in my 20s, who were sticking to the analog. Like, analog tape is the way to go and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't think it is. And then I'm like, these guys are going to become dinosaurs if they stick with that, because technology changes, And the way that I've always looked at that, it's a tool, So when I have tools at home, like as much as I respect, and I'm going to go analogy here on you, as much as I respect an Amish-built cabin, and I go in and I'm like, this is really nice, these handcrafted corners and all that. When we had our house built, we had guys with power tools and cranes. They were because power tools are available now, and that's economical. I love an Amish-built cabin, but if I paid for that for my house, it would be like, it just didn't work. So power tools are handy to use. I love old school things. I love these little tape delays and spring reverbs and things like that. But man, once you add it on a computer, what you can do with that is like, it's like a word processor compared to a typewriter. Yeah. It's like Microsoft Word compared to a typewriter. So are there writers out there nowadays who use typewriters? Yeah, there's a couple. But the rest of them, they use a word processor because it's a great tool.
Right.
And so digital, like in the early days, people are, afraid of digital. It just sounds too sterile, or, No, it's a tool it's a means to an end. Much like a power screwdriver compared to a hand screwdriver, Yeah. It's a different thing. And so, like, I have a garage full of tools. I have a bunch of tools, and I tinker around. But when I want to build a house, I hire someone who's like a carpenter who builds houses, And so that's where I kind of see where we're at, is like we have our world where we're experts, and that changes. That certainly changes. That software changes. Different things change, but a lot of it's the same. Kind of like home building. There's still, you still have to have certain physics. You still have to have certain structures to it. But you got to change with it. Like the other example I use a lot, people have heard me say this, Model T car. Model T, really cool. Like I'll go see them at car shows. Like, this is such a cool little thing. I wouldn't commute to Chicago in a Model T car. And that's why I also don't use analog tape to record, is because that's the Model T car. It's cool. It's novel. It has its place. But there's so many other cool tools that we have now, And so embracing the new, and I even have to force myself. I when I get new employees in, I get a couple interns in for the summer who are 20-year-old guys, and they're even pushing my envelope, and I love that. Where I'll be like, here's how I've done this, and they say, well, why don't you do it this way? And I'm like, you can do that? And they show me, and so I'm like, yay! Old dog learn new trick.
Oh my gosh! But again, it's that vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have all the answers.
Yep.
I'm willing to learn. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's a big part of what I try to teach others when they come in. Is I say, here's how I do it. I'll show you how I do it. And I remember when I was learning, and a guy showed me. He says, here's how you do it. Here's how it's done. And I remember thinking, this is art. There ain't a right or wrong answer. There isn't. The rules are meant to be broken. I like to learn how you do it, but I also appreciate the fact there's other ways to do it. And so I will tell people, I'm like, I'll show you how I do it. If you come up with a better way, please show me. Because I want to learn. That. The whole thing is about just getting better, about honing your craft, whatever that craft may be, carpentry, playing an instrument, editing, audio, mixing, It's like just to get better at it. I mean, that's the goal, right?
If I could share with you
Please.
Something that I'm noticing is that your curiosity is such a gift. Your curiosity is such a gift because you are open and willing to learn, but not only like about all these different subjects, but from other people and how to do things that you are a master in. So I think that your curiosity is a gift that you give to others as well. So
that's
thank you for
insightful.
that.
Yeah. Thank you. I never thought of it that way. But
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, never stop learning,
Never stop learning.
Huh?
Jake, how can people find Paradyme Productions?
Paradyme Productions, Paradyme. Why me?
Yeah.
We're in Madison. We're on the web, paradymeproductions.com. My email is jake@paradymeproductions.com. Just Google Paradyme, Google Madison Studios. We show up. paradymeproductions.com.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
for today.
Appreciate
This has
you
been
coming in and
lovely.
hanging out with you.
I know.
Totally putting that. I'm totally gonna